Commanders Declassified Nation, we are back with you for another episode of the Commanders Declassified podcast. As always, thanks for hanging with us. We're back to the OG crew for a second week in a row. Mike is out talking to potential undrafted free agents. So he's busy right now, but Eric and I are going to hold it down as always. Eric, the draft is right around the corner. I mean, close. We got pick 29. I got a couple of prospects I want to talk to you about and see if you think they'll be a fit for what we're trying to do offensively or defensively. Sound like a plan?
That works for me. How's everybody doing tonight?
Hopefully,
we got to get the pleasantries out of the way.
That's right. Now, I'm going to focus on players that have been rumored to slip or that we think will be available where we're going to pick. So you're not going to hear about Travis Hunter, for example, right? Or Ashton Genty, like folks like that. We're not doing that. Okay. So there is a high caliber player that is potentially starting to slip, at least on some people's boards. And it's the receiver, Teodor McMillan. If you don't know about him, he's 6'4", 219. He played at Arizona. Originally, this guy was supposed to be like a top 10 pick locked. Now he's starting to get mocked down into the 15s. There's a little bit of concern just about his ability to run routes and get open versus man and press coverage. A good jump ball guy. The draft analysis says he uses his hands and release package to get off press coverage. He snaps his head around and separates with strength at the top of his routes. Doesn't explode out of his breaks, but he can change directions on sharp breaking routes. He finds windows and works back to the ball against zone looks. And he wins with 50-50 balls. So that's essentially the positive review of him. If you watch Steve Smith's work, the former Panthers receiver, he's been relatively critical, not in a negative way, but he is critical of him just in his ability to separate and really some of his mentality he questions a little bit as well. But at 6'4", 219, is that a guy you'd be interested in?
I mean, 6'4", 219 and fast with good hands. Yes, I would totally be interested in that type of player. Yeah, there's some interview. I guess his team interviews didn't go well.
Yep.
People are questioning his commitment, maybe level, and they're kind of taking a second look at that film and looking at his effort on film. Who knows? That's a tough one. I mean, the physical profile you absolutely want on your team. I think that's something that Cliff Kingsbury would value for the offense. A receiver that blocks, a big, strong guy like that, big catch radius, can go get those jump balls if need be. You gotta trust your scouts on him. Basically, what do they find out? I guess he had some alarming social media posts as well. I don't know what that's about, but yeah. So I'm gonna go right here. This is where I'm at.
Just a sharp maybe.
The thermometer is swiveling. I don't know. I'm gonna If it's here, it's a no. If I'm not that certain about him, I'm just gonna go ahead and say no. There's probably fire where that smoke is. So let the Cowboys deal with him.
Yeah, I mean, like we need a big body receiver. Yes, we have Noah Brown. Noah Brown kind of is what he is. I think he's always going to be your number 2, number 3 receiver. McMillan presents an opportunity. One comparison I heard to him that I liked was Michael Pittman. That's been a comp for him that's been out there. Pittman has some really strong years. What Steve Smith said that really kind of caught me off guard was that he shut down in that game against Colorado where Travis Hunter had him in lockdown. He said he could visibly see that he essentially quit on that game. I don't like that too much. So for me personally, I'm going to take a pass on that one, but good luck to whoever gets him. All right.
There you go.
A prospect that is really an elite prospect, but I think might slip from injuries is Will Johnson, the corner out of Michigan. I think.
Sorry, I just looked up McMillan. Yeah. The comp that I read for him is George Pickens, so I'm going to go no on that. That's all it is. I don't need that nonsense.
Yeah, that's a tough one. That's hilarious. Will Johnson was going into the season on some evaluators was the number 1 cornerback going into the season from Michigan. He got injured, though, a pretty significant injury. And I'm going to read you the pros and cons on him, not from ESPN because ESPNs are too rosy for me. All right, Will Johnson. He is 6'2", 202 pounds, projected a 4.39 40. So he's got all the athleticism in the world. Here's what they say. This is from NFL Draft Buzz. It says, all right, his strengths, rare blend of size and fluidity, maintains his back pedal integrity against shifty receivers while using the 6'2 frame to bully smaller wideouts at the line. Elite football IQ, nasty competitive streak, exceptional ball skills, patient technician in man coverage who trusts his techniques and rarely bites on double moves, brings running back physicality to tackling. Now, let's talk about his weaknesses. He can get grabby downfield when beaten, so you got to watch out for those penalties in the NFL. Gets caught peeking in the backfield. Change of direction ability doesn't match straight line speed. Missed tackle rate went up a little bit as a junior. And press technique needs refinement. Relies on athleticism more so than consistent hand placement when jamming at the line. Will Johnson, Eric, if he's available at 29, you comfortable with that pick?
Excuse me. I wouldn't hate it. I look at the size and the athleticism, and I think about the receivers in this division, and that's somebody that you could use that athletic profile. So yeah, I'd be cool. I mean, I think that's somebody you might even be able to trade down and get like into the early mid second and grab him. But I wouldn't be mad at that at 29 at all.
Yeah, I would celebrate if we were able to pull that one off, because I think
you're a Michigan homer though, so
I love Michigan, but I also think that he's just a good player. Now, also, if you're listening in the comments, hit us up, tell us what you think. I got one for you that is really a controversial pick, and I'll tell you why in a second. Shamar Stewart out of Texas A&M. He's a defensive end edge rusher. Let's talk about his pros, and then we're going to talk about some stuff off the field, or not off the field, but some issues. A freaky athlete, 4.9 40 at 270 pounds, 10'11" broad jump, 40-inch vertical. So this dude is explosive, right? He has rare bend and flexibility for his size, showing the ability to drop his shoulders and flatten to the quarterback at angles that defy physics, is what they say. Converts speed to power with jarring effectiveness, displays shocking lateral agility, versatile defensive weapon, and sets a violent edge in the run game, brings a relentless motor, and processes quickly between reps. And you're hearing that, you're like, hey, why is this guy not the first overall pick, right? Well, let's talk about it. Production doesn't match the athletic profile. Just 4.5 career sacks. Raw pass rush plan relies on too heavily on his athletic gifts. Hand usage remains underdeveloped, often being late to engage, which allows blockers to get into his frame and control the point of attack. Struggles to convert pressures into sacks, and can play with inconsistent pad level. You in on this guy? He's a little bit of a let me also add, there is some concern about his temperament. He gets a lot of personal fouls, and that's mostly what I recall about this guy. So production does not match his talent and his tools, and you got to deal with the personal foul situation. But he's an elite prospect. What do you think, man?
So my understanding is that he had an undisclosed injury for much of last year, which was a big part of his lack of production. And there was like one particular game that he absolutely just took over. Can't remember it off the top of my head. So, there's a lot there. That athletic profile is hard to overlook, especially if somebody like that's available at 29. And as far as the temperament and personal fouls, I believe Dan Quinn calls that a dog-ass competitor. Mm-hmm. And he likes those guys. So I think that's something that if you think that Darryl Tapp and Ryan Kerrigan can bring out the best in Shamar Stewart, and he's there at 29, which I don't think he will be. I don't think he'll make it to 20. Somebody's going to grab him because he's just too much of an athletic freak to not grab. I would take him at 29. Yes.
My comp for him is Chase Young. And now Chase Young was a lot more productive in college, but I think it kind of translates where he had an undeveloped skill set when he came to the league. And I think Chase Young at 29 in the draft is a lot different than Chase Young at number 2 overall, right? you can live with the time that it takes to develop a pass rusher at 29 and surround him with talent that's going to be effective there. I'm all in on it. The guy's got to learn to keep his cool during the game, but I got no issues if he's available where we pick. All right. There is another fella out here who's an edge rusher, Mike Green from Marshall. Obviously, didn't come from the biggest school, hadn't played the best competition, but this man, I think, led the league in or college in sacks last year. Let's see, he's 6'4", 248, ran a 4.5 40. I'm going to read you his profile here. He's actually a former wide receiver, believe it or not. That's impressive. Explosive first step and bend around the corner, reminiscent of Von Miller. There, he beats tackle with pure speed and ankle flexion. Advanced pass rush repertoire, featuring devastating cross-chop move and fluid spin counter that keeps blockers guessing. Violent hands, natural leverage, allowing him to consistently defeat longer tacklers. Relentless motor and closing burst. Wrestling background, love it. Elite change of direction skills. Natural instincts for rushing the passer. Consistently takes efficient angles to the football and rarely gets pushed past depth as a rusher. What are his weaknesses? Lacks ideal bulk and strength for setting the edge against NFL tackles. Will occasionally duck inside gaps and lose contain. Upper body strength needs development. Limited experience dropping into coverage and tendency to leave his feet as a tackler leads to missed opportunities. What do you think about this pass rusher, Mike Green?
Mike Green is intriguing because I like him for this specific defense. Like if I'm some other team, I'm probably going to pass on him in the first round because I don't think he's going to be an every down player. I think he's going to be a pass rush specialist. And that is exactly what the Washington Commanders need going into this draft, somebody who can get after the quarterback. They've got a bunch of edge setters, right? They brought in Dietrich Wise. They brought back Cleveland Farrell. There's talk of Dorrance Armstrong is still here. So Javon Kinlaw, they're talking about putting him out on the edge at times. So edge setters are not the problem. You need guys that can get after the quarterback, and Mike Green is that guy. So if you've got a 3rd and 8, and you want a guy like that in the backfield or in the getting into the backfield rather. So yes, I am in on Mike Green as a pass rusher for this defense.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Generally speaking, I would take Shamar Stewart over him if I had the choice because
you're not going to have. Stewart you're not going to have the choice between those two at 29. But okay.
I will say, Green, I'm a little bit nervous about the small school stuff. That does matter. And will it translate? And I 100% agree with you. I think it's a situational player. And while I like that as a specialist, I think we just need every down players too. All right, let's go back.
Khalil Mack went to Buffalo. DeMarcus Ware went to Troy. So those guys, they're out there.
They are indeed. Let's go back to receiver. One that's been, I think, most currently mocked to us is Matthew Golden out of Texas. He's 5'11", 191 pounds. Not the biggest receiver in the world, right? And he kind of fits the same profile of a bunch of the other receivers we have on our roster right now in terms of size. But I will tell you what, as soon as my computer loads here, Matthew Golden. I'll read the ESPN one rather than keep you waiting. Golden is an effective route runner who wins with his release, explodes off the line, and gets out of breaks. He plucks the ball, makes the first defender miss, and explodes upfield after the catch. Golden is one of 2 players to run a sub 4.3 40-yard dash at the combine. The speed shows up on tape when he gives his quarterback room to drop the ball on running vertical routes. He high points jump balls and makes acrobatic catches down the field. Let me give you a couple of his weaknesses. He's a second-rate wide receiver on this draft board. All right. What are his weaknesses? He's small. He's slight. Concentration drops pop up more than you like. Blocking effort and technique needs significant refinement. And he has some medical history concerns. In or out?
I don't hate Matthew Golden at all, but I think I'm out on him at 29 because I would rather, I think Emeka Egbuka from Ohio State might be there, who is probably not elite at anything, but is good at everything. And if he's there, I might pull that trigger or even try to move back to maybe grab him. And if they just forego wide receiver in the first couple of rounds, I think Golden's teammate, Isaiah Bond, is going to be out there in the third round. I love Isaiah Bond. I know he didn't, he underwhelmed. He predicted the 4-1, whatever 40. He didn't come close to that, but I think he's going to be a problem in the NFL if he goes to the right team. That said, I'm not 100% sure he's a Cliff Kingsbury type of receiver because he's so tiny and he doesn't do a lot of the things. But if you're looking for like that dynamic playmaker on offense and you're hell bent on getting a wide receiver from Texas, I'd rather go with Isaiah Bond a little bit later on than I would with Matthew Golden in the first round.
Yeah, agreed. And the fact that he struggles a little bit with blocking tells me he's probably not going to be a fit for what Cliff's trying to do here.
Yeah.
I'm going to take you back to cornerback. This name has been popping up a lot, especially since the combine. His name is Maxwell Hairston. You know this guy? He ran a super fast 40. And ever since then, everybody's been in love with him. He's out of Kentucky. Let's go over his profile here. He is 5'11", 180, by the way. All right. He is elite or has elite feel for zone coverage. He demonstrates exceptional closing burst to the football. When he sees it, he gets it. It says changes direction with remarkable fluidity, shows advanced route recognition, brings attitude to the contact window despite his lean frame, displays elite ball skills when in position, processes information very quickly in zone coverage, brings infectious energy to the secondary. What are his weaknesses? He's very lean, shows concerning tendency to open his hips too early in press coverage, lacks ideal play strength to consistently reroute big receivers, will occasionally get too aggressive jumping routes in the zone, tackling technique needs refinement. I'm going to go ahead and say it. This is a hard pass for me. But what do you got, man?
Yeah, I don't love him. I don't really like any of the top corners. I don't know. Maybe I just haven't done enough reading. There's a guy at corner I really like that's probably going to be there in the mid rounds that you may have to trade up or down and pick up picks to get. And that's Denzel Burke from Ohio State. He's been inconsistent in college, but his highs are really high. And if you think you can keep him at those highs for an extended period of time, getting him around some teammates from college and maybe a little rival in Mikey Sainristil, I'd go there. But no, I'm not taking. I've already forgotten his name. The guy that you said, no interest there. Maxwell.
Yeah, his weaknesses really don't line up well with the kind of division that we play in with the big running backs or the strong running backs we have and the big receivers. It's not going to work. All right, I got one for you that I think you're going to at least have to think about. Let's talk about Donovan Ezeiruaku from Boston College, 6'3", 248. There's been a lot made about him because I think folks are really struggling to place where he's going to go in this draft. And as I pull up his profile, I'll give you the first sort of snippet here. All right, Ezeiruaku. He is, like I said, 6'3", 248. A slippery and rangy edge defender who ranked second in the FBS in sacks with 16.5 in 2024. Undersized for an edge, but his long arms make it tougher for blockers to lock onto him. Tracks the ball, gets off blockers, and wraps up when he tackles. Ezeiruaku bends and closes well, jolting blockers with a strong punch and working off initial contact. He chases with good effort and slips multiple blocks on the same play. He had the quickest 3-cone and short cone shuttles times out of all the edges at the combine. And then let me give you his weaknesses real quick if I can. All right. He has a lot of weaknesses. No. His frame is obviously an issue. Lacks ideal anchor strength to consistently set a firm edge against the run, sometimes getting displaced laterally by double teams. Will occasionally get too focused on winning with finesse moves. Despite good burst, doesn't possess elite straight line speed. Still developing consistency in his hands usage, particularly in quickly countering when his initial moves get stuffed. What say you, Eric?
So he projects as like another pass rush specialist in the NFL.
Yep.
I don't know if he's anywhere close to 20. Like I don't think you're taking him at 29. If he's there late second, early third, then maybe you think about that. I think I like Green better, more athletic player. The 34-inch arms are pretty impressive though for a defensive end. So I'm going to say no at 29, but maybe if he's there later in the draft, then yes, if you're still looking for that pass rush specialist.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think there's just the flaws that he has have repeatedly proven problematic for pass rushers coming into this league. That's not an easy thing to overcome. I'd love to see like you said, if there's something available later with him, maybe. But his profile, I just don't like. I know a lot of people do, but he's a project to me. I mean, not a project, but he's a low floor, um, potentially high ceiling guy. But I'd even question about how high his ceiling could even be. All right, here's an interesting one because we just traded for Tunzel. But if we get to the pick 29 and Josh Simmons, the offensive tackle from Ohio State, is there, 6'5, 317. Simmons started 13 games at right tackle at San Diego State in 2022 and then 19 games at left tackle at Ohio State the past 2 seasons. He missed most of 2024 after tearing a patellar tendon and didn't work out at the combine. But he should be ready to start the season. He does have short arms and he's quick and takes sound angles, pushing out to speed rushers, delivers a strong punch at top of his pass set. Marries well and is tough to beat when he gets his hands inside. He can seal the edge, work up to the sec level in the running game, and can cut off backside blockers in the run game as well. Makes him a good fit for heavy zone schemes. He can get into position, wall off defenders on man gap runs. He's not an overpowering mauler, but he plays with more of an edge on tape than he did, or in 2024 than he did in 2023. He's an offensive tackle. We have Tunsil. We have Coleman from last year, but he is a pretty talented prospect. Are you going to take a chance on Josh Simmons at pick 29 if he's there?
Yes, 100%. He has 33-inch arms, which for somebody who's 6'5" at tackle, it's a little bit short, but it's, there are guys that's like on the, the minimum of probably what you want for a tackle, maybe a little high. But again, with Coleman, one of those guys can play guard. So I have no problem taking Josh Simmons if he's there at 29. The only reason I think he would be there at 29 personally is if that knee injury. I'm not going to try to pronounce the injury because I can't say patellar, but that could still be an issue. I think that's the only reason he even makes it to 29 is if people are worried about that if he doesn't come through on some of his medicals. But if he's there at 29, yeah, I would definitely take him. You can't have too many good offensive linemen.
Yeah, I mean you're right, and that's kind of what I struggle about because you want to get an impact player at a position that's immediately going to start for you at 29. And he might, and he, like you said, he might kick Coleman inside. He might kick Coleman inside, or maybe he himself kicks inside with his arm length and plays guard as well. But is he solving a big problem, I guess, that you don't already have solved elsewhere, right? Like if he's a true tackle, you have those. You feel great about Tunsil. Coleman, you think you're solid for. I would be tempted to do something else. I would not have an issue with the pick. I wouldn't be in love with it or wouldn't be ecstatic about it. Put it that way.
See, I think that they've done enough so far in the offseason that they don't have anything that they really, really need. You could make a case for like a pass rusher, but even that you can wait on. I mean, you've got guys like you may not have a 15 sack guy, but you might have 4 8 sack guys. So I'm cool. Like I'm all in on best player available, and I've got a pretty good feeling if he's there at 29, he's probably the best player available. And you cannot have too many good offensive linemen. Well, yeah. I mean, if you have 7 good offensive linemen, a couple of them are and that jumbo package will be a monster, though.
It would be a beast. All right, I got 2 more for you, Eric. Walter Nolan. He's a defensive tackle out of Ole Miss. He's 6'4", 296. Nolan had 14.5 tackles for loss and 6.5 sacks last season. He's an outstanding run defender who wins in different ways. He slips blocks and gets into the backfield. He also stacks and gets off blocks. Nolan splits and fights off double teams. He has a range and motor to make plays in pursuit. He works half the man and can beat blockers clean with his hands. He has high upside as a pass rusher. Walter Nolan, he's a defensive tackle. If he's there at 29 and Adam Peters says, this is my guy, what are you saying to me, sir?
I mean, I got to go with Adam Peters' decision there, but I might jump out of a window if they take a defensive tackle again in the first round or high second. I just know that'll be a tough pill to swallow, but if he's the guy, he's the guy. I just why take another defensive tackle? We've got so many of them. So scratch my last comment about not having too many guys at one position. We have too many defensive tackles. So if they take another one, I want to launch myself into the sun.
That's going to be a bitter, tough pill for Commanders fans to swallow. Okay, I'm going to finish up with this guy, Jaden Higgins out of Iowa State. You familiar with this game? He is 6'4", 4'40", and he actually, I believe, played in the Senior Bowl. I want to make sure I got his height right. All right, here we go. He exhibits exceptional body control and route tempo manipulation, consistently creating separation with subtle head fakes and shoulder dips at the stem of his routes. He boasts vacuum-like hands and outstanding ball tracking ability, demonstrated by his remarkable 93.1% hands grade and 3% drop rate on 350 targets. Masterful at finding soft spots against his zone coverage, showing veteran-like instincts, possesses impressive catch radius thanks to a 79 and 3/8 wingspan, shows advanced understanding of defensive leverage, using his frame effectively to shield defenders, demonstrates elite production consistency, displays surprising agility after the catch for his size, versatile alignment capability across X, Z, and slot positions with football IQ to digest multiple route responsibilities. Eric, tell me why we are not going aggressively after this guy.
I don't know. Sounds like a stud. I mean, it sounds like Mike Evans, honestly, the stuff that you're saying. But I mean, that's putting a lot on a young kid. So I don't know. No, I wouldn't be mad if you take a 6'4" hyper athletic wide receiver with great hands. I can't really imagine why I would be upset about that. So if that's something that we want to do, I'm all in.
Yeah. I started thinking about Puka Nacua when I was reading that profile.
Yeah.
4'4" guy. I'm looking for some NFL comps for him. Yeah. I'm trying to find a good one. I like Mike Evans. I hear you. That's a good one too. I think just from a rookie impact perspective, I think for some reason Puka Nacua is staying in my mind. Here we go. Pro comparison, Xavier Hutchinson. No. Anyway, I think he could be really good. He's 6'4". We need that. I think he's better than the gentleman we talked about before, the other 6'5" receiver, Teodor McMillan. I'm all in. I still think we need help at the receiver position. In fact, Eric, aren't we at 4 receivers on the roster? Maybe 5 at this point. So
yeah,
can't go into camp like that. So
yeah, I mean, you got Terry, Debo, Gallup, Noah Brown, and McCaffrey. I think that's pretty much all they got right now. So yeah, why not? I don't know where he projects to go in the draft, but I mean, that guy, he sounds pretty good. I haven't watched enough of his game, but I'm gonna go check out some tape. He's from Iowa State. He's not a tight end, or he's from Iowa. He's not a tight end. No, he's Iowa State. Never mind. I lied. Okay. Yeah. 6'4", 215, long arms, jump out of the gym. Yeah. I got no complaints.
32nd.
You want to go.
32nd ranked prospect on the big board.
Okay.
Out of all the guys that we talked about, Eric, which one is the one that you would really want to land?
I like Shamar Stewart. I mean, I know that he's kind of polarizing, but I think the potential's there, and I think this staff can get that out of him. Like I said, he was hurt last year, so I like the idea. I don't think he makes it even anywhere near 29, but if he does, yeah, snap him right up. And outside of that, after that, probably Josh Simmons. Those would be my 2 favorite guys. But yeah, give me Shamar.
Yeah, I think on raw talent alone, I'm right there with you. man, and you nailed it. The coaches we have, Ryan Kerrigan, Dan Quinn, and everybody else in that building to help him out. I think we could do wonders for that guy if he can figure it out. I think he'd also benefit from Jayden Daniels' leadership, Bobby Wagner on the defensive side, Frankie Louvu. I think he's the pick. I think right now, if you ask me today, and he's there, he's got to be there for us to pick him.
Yeah, I don't think he will be.
I think that's the guy. That's what I feel right now. All right, Eric, any final thoughts?
What are we, like 4 weeks away from the draft now? Can't come quick enough.
You cannot. Yeah.
Read my caption. The UFL just ain't it. I miss.
Shout out to the DC Defenders, man.
Sure.
But yeah. So baseball's back. Orioles are doing great. I haven't checked them on the Nationals. I'm not a Nationals guy, but I feel good about baseball too. So, but bring football back. I'm with you. We're out of here. All right, man. We'll catch you folks next time. Thanks for listening as always. Subscribe, comment, and share with your friends. Commanders Declassified. Peace.